Today I kind of want to go through the base and 80% bosses and try my best to explain. I'm probably going to timestamp on the description, and if I don't, I will eventually, I swear. So what I did was I just went through all the fights. We got at least a good fight, so I'm going to start off with Darkside here. And Darkside, all you really do is you do one fire, you lock twice on, do your fire, and then you get ready. Now, here I kind of mess up, but it doesn't really matter. You just hold A and it works perfectly fine. But yeah, if you do one limit, it will die. But what I'm going to show you here is a little bit of an advanced limits. And if you hold down jump and A at the same time, it kind of buffers the two, puts them together. So if you're targeting against an enemy, it will try and it will jump, but you won't actually attack. So it'll cancel your attacking animation, causing you to basically get some aerial height with your limits instead of being around. This comes up later on in fights like Crimson Pranksters, and yeah, think of it like as a jump cancel from Smash. Pretty much the same thing. But next off is Pete's. I don't know if this is the right Pete file, so if it's not, I'll probably cut to the right one. Either way, I start with the fire, and I just go in aerial combos. Sometimes you're not in limit range here, and you can kind of be in limit range. I actually die in this one, sure. Either way, your best way of dispatching him is just aerial combos and that fire at the starts. Yeah, this is not the right one. I do end up dying. Sometimes you're not in limit form here, and in this case you just do aerial combos until you get into limit form. You can block him if you're this low, it doesn't really matter. There's a couple things you can do. But ideally, if you're on beginner mode, you can tank the full punch and not die. You're starting from full HP, and if you're not starting from full HP, if you're near limit range, you can probably tank 3 hits, and that you can buffer limit by holding A while you're being hit. Don't die. Just trying to get this. I believe I was doing this one on Proud. This is kind of an example of full HP. This is Proud mode, not beginner. But on Proud mode, if you're full HP, you can tank the full 3 combo, and then you can just hold A and you get this limit right away. So that's one way of taking damage while not losing too much time. Antlion is the next fight, and there's really a whole lot much to it. In beginner mode, you take damage before the fight. I do it on the first screen. First screen you go in. I take 4 hits from those Scarlet Tangos, and then I head off to Antlion. You can take 6 hits, but 6 hits puts you in limit range, I believe. And while that's useful, I believe you still take some damage. Or 4 hits is kind of I call it good compromise between the two. If you want to be safe, you get no limit range before this fight on beginner and standard. Proud mode, you just go into this fight as normal. Regardless, you go up to the Antlion, and you cast one Blizzard, and I believe the way that this works is that it works based on hits. The Blizzard is doing hits as it's traveling. Then I'm going to be doing ground combos, because this last hit here on the start of this first combo actually triggers the phase with Blizzard damage. If known as the second hit, you still want to do this full combo regardless. But yeah. Now the place where Antlion goes, I can't really switch the screens here, but on the map down here, if you do it early enough, it's just going to go to this corner over here. If you do it semi-late, it's going to go to the middle over here. And if you're very late, you're absolutely late to this fight, he will run all the way to this side, and this part is what really want it to be. So if you want to play it safe, you just want to get it into damage him down as fast as possible. You can try and go for this middle spawn and then be up here, and that would be closer to this exit when the fight's over, and that's technically faster. But if you're too late on that, then he will spawn over on the right side, and that is not what you want. regardless, he'll come out of this phase and will be shooting pillars at you. You want to take at least enough to get into limit range, if not close to it. This one I got hit by it 3 times there, once and then twice on another one. So this one I kind of want to avoid all damage from the 3rd pillar, and I kind of got lucky in this clip. And then with this one in beginner, you just kind of want to either get in the limit range as he's traveling. This one I kind of got lucky, but regardless, you want to limit as he's traveling so that he doesn't damage you, but still hits the corner of this one. Yeah, I got lucky in this clip on a put onto very, very low HP. And you want to be low enough HP where you can do 2 limbs like this, and yeah, pretty much the entire fight. Yeah, so this one is Darkside. Darkside. Dark Follower, not Darkside. The Dark Follower starts out by targeting the same way you did in Darkside. Instead of the fires, though, you can run up to him on this like left and middle side and cast thunders. You can do 2 of them before he transitions to the next phase, and then you kind of want to run back and do some fires. You can do a total of 2 or 3 fires. 3 is the maximum, though. Then you want to get back on this left side again. It really doesn't matter as long as you're kind of like behind him, but I find the left side is very easy for getting damage dealt, especially when he goes back and charges next attack. This one I'd be doing 2 thunders here, and then going for an ether. The reason why I go for the ether here is I don't actually have enough thunders to completely kill him before his like final phase. And this, if I were to do a 3rd thunder here, sometimes it does damage, sometimes it doesn't do damage. It really doesn't matter, but this is probably the best place for an ether. If not, throw the ether when he has his fist in the ground. I die here. Let's try and do something. Oh, this is bad. You want to avoid that shockwave, but once you avoid the shockwave, it's 2 thunders. And if it's not 2 thunders, then it's enough for that fire. You should be dead. It's simple as that. Alright, so this one is Infernal Engine. Now, before I get into this, a while ago we had a RNG manipulation for Infernal Engine, and I found that completely useless. Now, the reason why I say useless is it's not more so an RNG manipulation, but it's more so tricking the boss into doing certain attacks. Instead of doing what the manipulation starts doing, just standing still, I instead go for a thunder right off the bat, just by running up to him and going to this corner. Now, what comes from this thunder is I do about a half of his HP bar here, and all this is chip damage. Now, to keep the fight going as normal, I have to run all the way back to the wall here. And then when I'm at the wall, I cast a Fira, and as you can see, the balls are coming out. My main objective here now is to dodge every single one of the archers, and I need to get hit by 6 of these balls. I believe it's 4 in standard, and I believe it's 3 in proud. Standard, I'm not too sure. There are some leniencies too. If you do proc auto life, you can get hit by the cannon that comes after this, and that'll also do similar damage to these balls. Or it will do less damage, but it will still do enough damage to put you deep in the limit range. Regardless, I get hit by 6 of these. Kind of mess up there, but 6. Now from here, you can either choose to play it safe and avoid all of these archer's bolts, or you can go in for another thunder like before, and then move back to the door. Now right here, he's going to shoot a cannon. Sometimes you might not shoot the cannon and then he might hammer you. You can block the hammer and that will take no damage. Then you can avoid the bolts. But regardless, shoots the cannon, you can either block the first one or just dodge it. I choose to dodge the first few because of dodging the projectiles. But same thing, you just kind of go and guard. Now, I'm short thunders here, so I will throw an ether eventually. Yep. And then while I'm waiting for these thunders to travel, I can do a full combo. Now you want to try and not proc auto life off of these soldiers, or kill them too much. At least in Proud, you will pick up their HP orbs, and that is bad. But all this right here is chip damage. If you kill a couple soldiers, it's not too bad. Now, the soldiers there despawned, and I'm going to replay this because it's actually very important. As soon as the soldiers despawn, you go into full aerial combos and you do not stop. So if you watch carefully, his mouth is open right here. But if you do a combo, and land this finisher, his mouth will close. And he also gets flinched backwards. Here you want to keep doing aerial combos and pay very close attention to your lock on targets. Because sometimes he will reopen his mouth, like I believe this clip. So he reopened his mouth and this finisher then closes his mouth again. And all this does is it's making sure he doesn't hammer you. Now his mouth's opening again, and this is where you go into the next combo, and you should. But right there, the target went away, and this target going away means he's going to be doing this, like ramming attack. This is where we limit and do a ton of damage. If the target doesn't go away and his mouth opens, that means he's doing a hammer, and you kind of screw up your aerial combos. In that case, you'll just guard, and you'll have to try and dodge the bolts from the archers that come out. When this happens, you just hold A, and then you jump slightly, and then you just keep attacking. You should be able to get 3 full limit combos off on this, run back and cast a Fira, just for more chip damage. And same thing, you watch for these flinching animations, and you just keep doing aerial combos until that locked on target goes away. You never want to buffer in your limit until you see it disappear. And then last time you try and get to the exit as fast as possible. So yeah, that fight's kind of like the more... It's one of the more weirder fights, just because before it was an RNG manipulation, and now it's more of just a forcing Infernal Engine to do this thing properly. I believe I'm going to guard armor here. Guard armor in beginner though is basically getting the limit range off of its first attacks, and then trying to stay in limit range. There's really not a whole lot to this fight. You can use his hands to advantage, and then once you're in limit range, if you're deep enough into it, you can just limit right away. If not, you can kind of do a combo and wait for his next attack. But regardless, this whole fight is just limiting. Nothing really too special to it. In Proud mode, you really want to time limit properly, or else you might get stomped by these feet, and then you'll just lose auto life and just take a bunch of damage. Like in Proud, that stomp right there would lose auto life, and then you'd be in trouble. You'd be dead and Proud there as well. It's a lot of like weird things to this fight. Being critical HP for so long is rough. Yeah, just limiting. Beginning, you just kind of don't care about it. I believe I go to Leechgrave next. Yes, I do. So Leechgrave in beginner, if you throw an elixir at the start of the bat, you have full HP. Now there are a couple ways to get into limit range off of full HP. First one, which I do in this, is by deliberately running at Leechgrave and just comboing him. This whole, like, these hands coming out, these will actually not kill you, unless you get double hit off the first one. But getting hit by all 3 parts, like 1, 2, and then 3, will only damage you to about, like, right here in your limit. And around right here is actually very, very safe, and that's honestly the perfect limit range. If you don't get in there, if you proc your auto life, you might want to play safer. If not, then don't worry about it. You're only hit by 2 of it, and I go to half HP, and at this point it's perfectly fine, because there are other places to steal from. Me being stubborn, then I did do a couple combos, and the rest of the fight is just trying to get these tentacles down. Ideally, you want them to attack you so you can guard them and just dispatch them with 1 Fira, or 1 Thunder, 1 Blizzara, and a combo. But regardless, you can take care of the tentacles very, very quickly. That Poison Fog is the other source of damage you can use to get yourself in limit range. I use that just to get in chip damage. or do some chip damage on myself rather. Yeah, the tentacles are basically the longest portion of this, and trying to skip them is your kind of priority. I'm just gonna fast forward here to killing the tentacles. So now that this guy is down, you want to avoid using Fear on the last one. The reason why you want to avoid using Fear is so that you can limit right away as soon as you get to Leechgrave, so you can do damage. Sometimes if you're fearing the tentacle, it can go for literally across the map, and all that time that a magic is out, you cannot be in limit range, or you cannot limit rather. So I kind of messed up there, and I go to my command menu, but regardless, you just want to limit him as much as possible. Right there, it's very, very minor, but sometimes if you're not in the perfect limit range or you mess up, you can kind of drop your limits after like the first swipe, and then you can kind of continue it on as if you have a full another extra combo instead of doing this final portion of the limit, which does significantly less damage. Just because of like, it doesn't do like significantly less damage, but it does less damage because you can't do as much. So you can be kind of a bit risky here. You can get a full limit off, like as he's going back up, and you can sometimes proc your auto life depending on your HP. He won't proc your auto life, and you kind of don't want him to proc your auto life. There is a very good like HP threshold, at least in beginner, where you can do this rather safely. Otherwise, you can go for this risky strat of trying to kill him. Right here, he does these like purple globe things. This is basically just like free damage. If you get this at all, never stop attacking. But regardless, you can go for the risky strats, and you can kind of bait out the attack if you want. There's also a strat where you block on the ground in the crowd, but that strat's rather risky. The other way is just literally going through the fight and again, and Tentaclaw killing is very, very slow, so you either want to do this as a first run, uncomfortable, or it's just how you want to continue your run. If you're going for like very good times, I might say it incorporates the very risky Leechgrave strats, otherwise, whatever. It's like a minute and a half. Don't do it. It's like timed out to be. Alright, so this is Crimson Pranksters. Now, Crimson Pranksters, right off the bat, I'm going to be holding right, and I'm going to be dodge rolling twice and staying still. What this does is it puts me in a very good spot, and from here I can jump and just do Blizzara. At the apex of my jump, I do the Blizzara. I can see what both of these two are doing. I see that this one is doing a fire attack, and this one's doing a fire attack, and I think that is very good. Now, as it plays out, this one is shooting fire, and this one is shooting a projectile. This is very like on your toes thinking, but this Blizzara is always consistent, and this is probably the only source of time you'll find using a Blizzara. Not only for this move, but also because it puts you in a very good spot for the best case scenario of these two. Regardless, this one is shooting fire down, this one is shooting a projectile that will leave fire spots. I'll be using the fire that he's shooting down, even though it's being cancelled by the Blizzara. It doesn't stay out as long as it would be if you didn't throw the Blizzara. Regardless, this fire will always hit you, which is why you do the dodge rolls and that Blizzara. And it will push you towards this guy, which usually if he's shooting fire down, which I believe I do have an example of that, you can get ricocheted back and forth between these two, and you can usually get yourself into limit range. So all I'm doing here was basically trying to go into the fire and just damage myself in the limit range as fast as possible. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm looking at what they're doing. This one is doing his fist attack or whatever. He's throwing his tauns around on the ground. The other one was actually spinning. Now this spinning fire over here is very, very dangerous, at least on Proud mode. On beginner mode, you can literally just run up to him and like dodge roll into it once, and it will stop him. His tracks and do some damage to you as well. You don't really want to be limiting while he's firing, or else it's a very, very good way to die because you knock back. The way I approach this fight is I make sure and I look to see what these guys are doing. This one I actually pluck my auto life, which is bad, but as soon as this guy is done spinning, I do limit him, I believe. And whenever they're done with an attack, they actually have this very long cooldown of like when they're going to attack again. And this very long cooldown is basically what makes this fight very simple. When they're finished with attack, you attack them. When they're about to attack you again, you can get off them and wait, and that'll be like the end of your limit either way, so you can kind of wait it out. So this guy over here just finished his spinning, and this guy is now attacking me. So as soon as he finishes his attack, which is his like final slam on the ground, I target again and lock onto him. And I kind of got clipped there, and so if you really get clipped and he's doing fire and you don't want to wait for the other guy, you can go up to these guys and cast Blizzara. It's just basically stops this fire and then you can limit them right away. If you miss this Blizzara though, you're kind of in trouble. But yeah. So in this one I heard the fire in my ears and I just had to double check to see if he was spitting or if he was spinning. In this case he was spinning and I had to get off that guy right away. Mostly just because these guys would just run at you and just run you down. But now that he's done spinning, I just go in for damage. And at all times I'm just listening in my ear for how these fights play out. Basically, if they're spinning at all, it's pretty bad RNG. You don't really want them to be spinning at all. In this clip I die though, because I was getting greedy. Or not. Oh no, I use my Limerary Charge here. The Limerary Charge can be used on either Leechgrave or Crimson Pranksters in these two. Ideally, you don't want to use more than one, but it doesn't really matter too much as long as they die. Yeah. I'm not sure if I go back and try and redo this fight. Alright, here we go. So this is another example. This guy is shooting fire down, and this guy is shooting fire down as well. You can kind of tell by their like fire animations. The one where he's spitting fire outwards, it's a difference. I had to go back and like frame by frame it if I really want to. But regardless, if they're both spitting, which is the best case scenario, you drop down and you'll get shot into from this one into him into you'll get hit by this fire, hit into this guy's fire, and if you hold back left and roll, you'll get hit back and forth again. And yeah, that third hit is what you really want because then it puts you very close to limit range, and then you can just get hit again. Yeah, I didn't do it properly there, but that's kind of like the idea. And as the fight continues, now that that's over, I'm going to be talking about Ruler of the Skies. Now, Ruler of the Skies is a very patient fight. So right off the bat, you want to you'll kind of like figure out this height. I can't really tell you exactly what the height is. It's just something you have to mess around with. In this clip, I kind of missed this shot, but ideally I want to shoot this Fiora as soon as this starts to drop. When this starts to drop, it just basically stays in place from that point on. Then you guarantee this fire afterwards, and then it will just go into the next phase. Now in this clip I do miss it, and as you see it just barely misses it, but you get the fire here, and this is where it would transition to the next phase. If you don't, you kind of have to go back and to the left, because this guy will start turning to their left. From here you can get 2 fires off and it'll just transition. Basically the gist of Ruler of the Skies is in the Skull phase you have the option of hitting a Fira and a fire, or 3 fires in a row. And this is kind of why in my notes I put in some ethers just in case you have to do all of those 9 fires. So as soon as you hit this last fire, you kind of want to get ready and like position yourself in a place where you can shoot a Fira right here as he's about to charge. This Fira shot here is if you want to go for something called a coin skip, and these coin skips are the transitions between these flying phases that just basically waste time for his skulls to be vulnerable. Now the skulls are always vulnerable, but it's very, very tricky to actually get these shots off. But if you're good enough, you can get it just as it's rising up, and that should usually do the damage on the skies. Now, depending on which phase it is, or how many charge phases it is, at the beginning it'll be charge phase 1, after the first coin it'll be charge phase 2, and then in the final charge phase 3. In the first phase he'll be doing 3 charges, in the second he'll be doing 5, and the third he'll be doing 7. You only have to know these really if you're going for coin skips. If you aren't going for coin skips, don't worry, just survive and do the coin phases normal. It just wastes a tiny bit of time, but coin skips are very good to learn, especially in beginner where it's really not as risky. In Proud mode it's rather risky just because of how easy it is to get comboed out even with high potions. The first charge he does not count, and this charge right here, as he's coming back, is charge 1. This is 1, this is 2, and here I'm getting ready to follow him as 3. Now at 3, the way I kind of do the coin skips, I kind of judge it based on this blue circle on my character in the map, based on the orange circle on the map as well. And ideally you want to get as low as possible, and then when your blue line touches the orange circle, you shoot your fire, and that usually should position you in the right spot for coin skips. So right there the fire hits, and he kind of like phase, and he's just going to attack you. Here you can kind of take a whole bunch of damage from this. This is why you can sometimes get comboed out in Proud. But in beginner, it's not really too much an issue. I believe I have 4 high potions for this. You can go for the next hit there for another coin skip if you really want, and if you get really comfortable with it. But ideally, I only go for 2 coin skips. If I want to play it safe, I only go for the first one. This is phase 2 now, and he's just going to keep flying around. You can throw high potions basically whenever you want if you feel like you're in danger of losing your auto life. Like right here, I believe I throw one. Yeah. But really, it's not too much of a deal. You could go for the fire as it's going down, and it would just save you an extra fire on the next coin phase transition. But it really doesn't matter. It's also kind of risky if you miss it, but it is what it is. Okay, these are the coin phases. This is what you'd be skipping if you were to do a coin phase skip, as I did on phase 1 to 2. But here you can go for a Fira and a fire, or just 3 fires, depending on how you do magic setup. I believe I go for a coin skip here, and I do hit the shots. But I don't think I actually pull it off. This is 3 of 7, charge 4 of 7, 6, and 7. Oh, maybe I miscounted. Either way, that would be the end of the charges, and I go for the fire here, and I get the second coin skip. Not bad. Now, once you finish the phase 3 coin phase, like you do the damage on the skulls on phase 3, this is where you kind of want to chip him away. For any limits, you want 2 bars really to play with. And right now he's sitting around 2 bars and nearly a third. So the job here is to kind of get to this apex of when he's like charging, and you're just going to be casting 2 Firas. and that 2 fears would chip him down to just over 2 bars, and that's perfectly fine. You can get a fire in and 2 fears, or you can get 3 fears in if you're quick enough, but 2 fears is about what you want to get. From here, if you're not already in limit range, you can get hit by the ice spikes. You want to try and avoid getting hit by these blue balls, as they will heal Ruler of the Skies again. But regardless, these blue spikes do deal enough damage, especially in Proud. They do have a small chance of freezing, but it's not all that common to freeze. You don't actually take too many hits from them too. Basically, the way this fight ends, you want to wait for him to stop glowing. While he's glowing and while he's like kind of readying this attack, he still has an active hitbox on him, but you do want to get between his head and his. Some people opt into flying really high and coming down. I choose to go for the option of flying really low and coming up. The reason why I go low and up is if you go high and out, you kind of get stuck at his crown here and you kind of miss a whole lot of hits. You kind of have to go through the whole limit. But if you go down and up, you kind of get stuck between his head and his hearts, and you can just charge a limit and the fight will be over. Now onto the final very tricky fight, Xion. Xion comprises of 4 phases. In beginner, it is very simple to do this without dying, especially if you have, I believe, it's 4 or 5 limit recharges. The first phase, all you're doing for this one is you're getting into limit range, and you can do that by her charging attack, where she flies into the air and charges at you, and you just keep tanking hits into your limit range, or you just take chip damage and just suck it up and take the limit range in phase 2. I'm just gonna let this play out because pretty much your main goal here is getting 1 fear off, and the rest are just normal magic. So right there, when Xion goes below 1 bar, she tries to do a little desperation move. If you let her channel it, she will heal back to full. And the only way to stop it is by just literally hitting her once with your Keyblade, and that just basically says, hey, I'm there. And stops the move, and then from there you just kind of just finish her off. Yeah, so in this clip I didn't get into limit range, but it's whatever. Sometimes you don't get lucky. In this case I did full damage to her as she was attacking me. So I'm not really losing time. I don't want to lose limit range or die, because getting limit range on beginner is rather difficult. P2 at the start, I do 2 arrows here, and I don't move. What this does is it kind of manipulates Xion into doing one of her attacks, and that one is just a normal like basic combo or a charge. In this case, she flashes her sword at me. In this case, it's going to be her charge, or not a charge, or basic attack. The charge is like the glowing circle around you, sucking you in, and it comes at you. But this one, you kind of just tank it, and in this case, I want to actually guard it, because guarding Xion's attacks makes her retaliate harder. I don't know if I do it here. I don't. This hit right here, if I were to guard it, would do a little bit more than like chip that she does. It would actually push me into limit range and knock me like way up in the air. And ideally, that's what I would want to have happen. But I kind of messed up in this clip. But all I'm really trying to do is get her down to 4 bars, so I can kill her within 2 limits. Yeah, so I guard right there, and it puts me in limit range here. And basically this whole fight, all I'm doing is I'm playing with the 2 bar limits, like amount of damage. So all I'm doing is like chipping away at her health while getting deep in the limits. Pretty simple. And then at the end of these like attacks, there's like a cooldown between your attacks, so if I dodge this final hit, I get a huge opening on her. So this one, I believe I do too much damage and I break into this like final state. Regardless, she dies in 2 limits. That's like kind of the goal of this whole fight. Now I believe I do die in this clip, but phase 3, all you're really doing is you're doing 2 Firas for chip damage, and then she'll come at you and do attack. And this one you just kind of dodge the finisher and just kind of limit away. As shown right here, I do die because I get really, really risky about it. And the reason why you just wail at her is when you get down to, I believe, under 2 bars, she tries to heal, and when you get down below 1 bar, she tries to heal again. And while she tries to heal, you get a whole bunch of limit damage in, but as soon as she's done with this, she's going to attack. And she can do 3 or 4 different attacks. You can kind of like base decision on like keep attacking. When she's doing this like normal slashing, this is probably her weakest move, except for the finisher, or doing the most damage of it. So at this point, you just kind of keep going away. If your swords are glowing, you kind of want to bail, because that will pretty much kill you even in beginner. She can charge you similar to phase 2, where she'll dash at you with the glowing vortex. And then her last one is she can jump in the air, just wasting time. Yeah, so I kind of bail my limit buffer there, I believe, but I actually do get a crit and I almost actually kill her. And I'm just trying to finish her off by not taking damage. Which I fail to do, I believe. Hard to take forever. We got her. Okay. So the way Xion 4 works is this is where you're going to be using all your limit recharges if you haven't already. Off the start of the fight, I'm just going to see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 bars worth of limits if I were to limit constantly. But that's never going to happen, and her first attack here is very, very random. I believe she can choose between 3, though it's more common to see lightning and basic attacks than it is to see the dark magic kind of attack. Not really sure what I would call it. Probably like a gravity spell. So right at the start here, if you're not in limit range, you can tank the full thunder. Like somehow you die phase 3. Alright. If you're not in limit range, you can tank the full thunder, and in beginner mode you'll be fine. In proud mode you can jump in the air and you'll only take 1 or 2 hits, and that'll also put you in limit range. But right off the bat, I run into her, I limit, and I see what she's doing. I see this arm coming up means she'll do a basic attack, and at this point, I kind of get high in the air, and I just keep wailing at her. The reason why I want to get high in the air is you kind of go over all of her attacks, and that's just kind of what you want to do. So right there, this is like her gravity, H1 spell, darkness, whatever. This does percent damage, and all you have to do to counter this is just be on the ground and guard. It will auto guard, no matter where you're facing, as long as you press guard. This one is like percent HP, except for if you're very low, it will actually hit your auto life and kill you. And I believe, I could be wrong on this, she can't use the same move twice unless there's like certain situations where she's at like HP barriers. Now, because she used this spell here, I want to get her to 5 bars of health. So right about here is where you want to stop at. Basically, I want to limit her down 1 more time. So because she just did her normal attack here, this is my one theory of she can't do the same attack twice. I've seen her do two like basic attacks at the same time in a row. Very, very rare, and I think it has to do something with HP barriers or low HP. But now she can decide between like a gravity spell or if she does the lightning. But here is like kind of, you want to chip her down to the 5 HP bar. You don't want to over damage her. So when she does this like voice, this is where the lightning comes out, you just guard the same for her as the gravity spell. You want to be on the ground as fast as possible, because this will literally kill you no matter what. So now I'm trying to chip away as fast as possible, and as soon as I see this arm move up, this is when I start the limits. Now the reason why I do it specifically at 5 bars is I go again at that 2 HP bar rule for limits. And if you get Xion to below this 3rd bar here, she has 2 different types of DMs. One is she rains like light from the heavens, and the other is she'll surround the vortex in a like ours kind of orb. Not really sure what it is. They're 2 DMs, and you kind of want to skip the first one. So if you can get past this into her 3rd bar, she will no longer do it until after the 2nd one. So here, because I just finished the limit and I got down to her 3rd bar, I'm not limiting again because I know her next move is going to be the DM. And here you can kind of like chuck Fira's if you want to like chip damage. It's really not important, but it's just an option. You can hold like up and left if you want, and this will just get you out of this like, no matter what. If you want to be really safe, you glide and you just never let go of glide, because if you let go of glide, you will fall right back into the vortex. From here, you want to get to her as fast as possible, because she can choose between the lightning attack or just normal attacking you. If she chooses the lightning attack, you kind of just got ruined by luck, because then she's going to do her DM. But as soon as you get into this final bar of HP, she really can't kill you, because you can't even do her final DM again until she does her first DM, I believe. So yeah. That's all for Xion. Anyways, finally, Riku has strats. For once in stupid games where it has actual strats. So it started this fight, and instead of just going and praying that you get the guard, if you dash twice ahead and get ahead of him, Riku only guards if you're in front of him. So I mess up there because I kind of glided. But right here, I'm in front of Riku, he's looking at me, and if I attack him, he does his guard. Wow! The thing we've always been wanting to know, and how to avoid. It just you don't have to be in front of him. Anyways, if he gets this guard, he does chip away your health, and I believe in beginner you have to do 3 or 4 of these just to get into limit range. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes he does multiple in a row, and it's very, very common to do multiple in a row. But as soon as he does the first one, if you do like Blizzara will instantly pop him from his guard into his attack, saving you a tiny bit of time. Alternatively, you can just go for the standard Keyblade swing to hit him, and if he does get knocked up, there's a small chance the finisher of your full combo will hit the guard again. If not, then you'll just have to try and wait it out and get in front of him again. So right there, my Blizzara hit him, but he wasn't actually going to guard me there. And from here, he's now looking away from me, and this Blizzara will just do damage on him. So he's going to charge at me. And ideally, you just want to take as much damage as possible, but if you get in front of him again, hey, look, a guard. But yeah, that's pretty much all of the Riku fights. If he's not looking at you, you just want to will your Keyblade at him. And you kind of just want to try to stay behind him as much as possible. that's pretty much all there is to Riku fights. It's all just getting in front of him to get his guards, and trying to stay behind him to avoid getting guarded. If you wait for him to move, he pretty much will never guard you. It's only when he's like standing still, essentially. But yeah, it's pretty much all there is to all the boss fights. But I think as a good coverage of the boss fights, I did show off all the new stuff, even the risky stuff, well, some potential backups and slower strats. If any don't make sense, let me know. I would be happy to try and explain